Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm. In this video, we are going to make our own version of Pong. Now, this is not going to be as advanced as the version of Pong that we've played in class. This is going to be slightly easier to make. There were some additions that I made to mine that we kind of don't have time for. So let's go ahead and just create our own two-player Pong game. So I'm going to call mine Pong. Hopefully I don't have more than one Pong project, or hopefully I don't have another project named Pong. That's better said. Okay, first off, let's get rid of our Scratch the Cat sprite. And I don't want a white backdrop for this project. I want a nice black backdrop. And actually, let's go back. So we could we could grab our, just grab black, grab this, and just create a black backdrop. That's one way to go about it. The other thing we could do is we could just find a backdrop that we like, but this is fine enough. Okay, now we need to get our ball moving around in the game. So let's go ahead and grab a ball. So let's choose, this ball looks perfectly fine. And if you want, you can change its costume to one of these other colors. Pink looks pretty good. Blue looks pretty good. I think I'm going to stick with yellow. Okay, I'm going to put the ball at, let's say 0, 0, and I'm going to shrink it just a little bit. Let's say 80%. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. All right, now the thing that it needs to do is it needs to actually pick a random direction to point to, and then it needs to start bouncing. It needs to start moving in that random direction. So first, let's go ahead and let's grab an event. We'll say when the green flag is clicked. Let's put it in the middle of the scene here. Go to X and Y. And then we want to point in a direction, and instead of it being 90, let's do a random direction. So pick a random. Now, if you remember from math class, there are 360 degrees in a circle. So we can go from, let's say, 0 to 360. And then we want it to start moving. So let's not do the moving yet, because we're going to do something different. What we'll do is we will use a repeat block. And actually, we're going to use a repeat forever, because this is going to control the movement of our ball in our game. And so we want it to constantly be bouncing forever. So we're going to say... It's late. My dog's sleeping behind me on the couch. It's funny. If you hear snoring, that's just my big puppy. Okay. So we're going to forever do something. So let's say move, I don't know. Let's do move 10 steps. And let's use this block here that says if on edge, bounce. All right. So now I should be able to play, and we should see the ball start moving. And it is. All right, with just a little bit of coding, we've got our ball moving around in our game. It's bouncing off of the edge. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and stop that, and let's play it again and make sure it comes out at another random angle, which it does. Perfect. Now, there is a bit of a bug with this. There's a chance that the ball could come off at an angle that's too steep, and it will never go left and right and touch the paddles. That's something we could fix, but we're not going to worry about it in this project. It's a random thing, and it's so rare that it'll happen that it's not that big of a deal. We shouldn't even have to worry about it. Okay, next we need to worry about our paddles. Let's bring some paddles in. And I like the paddles that Scratch gives us. So we'll bring that guy in. Let's rotate it all the way down to 180. Okay. Yeah, 180. And let's put it over here. Let's put it at negative 200. And on the X, and we'll put it at 0 on the Y. And let's shrink that by 80% as well, just so the paddle's a bit smaller. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to set it up so that I can control the paddle. So when the green flag is clicked, let's say I want to go back to this position. So we'll use a go to block. Go to negative 200 and 0. And then forever, let's do something. So I want everything inside this loop to be what handles its movement, the paddle's movement. So we'll say forever if the, well, we want to check for a key press, but we also want to make sure that we're not leaving the level. So we're going to need an and for this. Let's go to our operators. Let's grab an and here and drop that in. We'll go ahead and put that right in there. So the first thing we want to check is a key press. So we do that by checking if a certain key is pressed. And for this, we'll say W, because we're going to have this paddle be controlled on W and S. And the other paddle is going to be controlled on up and down arrows. So if the W key is pressed and let's say our Y position is less than, I don't know, 150. 150 seems like a good, easy number. Oh, not that. Let's do 150. Yeah, that's a pretty good number. So we'll say if the W key is pressed and our Y position is less than 150. So we need another operator. We need a less than. And in our motion, we can find our Y position. And we'll say 150. So then if those things are true, then we want to change Y by, let's say, 10. Okay. Now, if I play the game, if I push the W key, notice I can go up, but I can't go any further than the top of the screen because we're limited to 150. All right. The other thing we have to do is let's actually just go ahead and duplicate that and put it in here. So now instead of Y, or instead of W, let's say if the S key is pressed and Y position, we actually need this to be greater than. Let's go to our operators, greater than. If Y position is greater than, I don't know, negative 150, because it should be, yeah, negative 150, right? And then we want to change Y by negative 10, because we want to go down. Okay, let's try this. So I can go up and I can go down. So now I have movement on that paddle. It's working perfectly fine. Okay, perfect. Now, let's get another paddle. All we have to do is duplicate this paddle here, and then let's have it start, instead of going to negative 200, let's have it go to 200. And instead of the W key, it's going to be the up arrow. And instead of the S key, it's going to be the down arrow. Okay. And that's all we have to change. Now we can start the game. I can have the up and down keys controlling one paddle, and I can have the left and right, or the W and S keys controlling the other. Perfect. Believe it or not, we're actually very, very close to being done. Okay. So the only thing that we have left that we're going to work on here is if we're touching the paddle, we want it to bounce off of the paddle. And then maybe if we have some time, we can institute a scoring system. But I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so to touch the paddle. So if the ball touches the paddle, we want it to bounce off. So what we could do is, let's say it'll need to be inside this forever. Let's use an if. And we'll say if we're touching the paddle or we're touching the other paddle. We can handle the logic in one if statement. So let's grab our or, and let's go to sensing for touching. So if touching, oh, hello. What happened there? There we go. If touching, and we'll say paddle 1, or touching paddle 2, then we want to point in a new direction. And specifically the direction we want to point in is the exact opposite direction from where we bounced or where we hit the paddle, right? Now, there's a fun little math trick that we can use to make this happen. Let's grab the point in direction block. Now in here, what we can do is take the current direction, which is this, and we can times this current direction by -1. So if you have a positive number and you multiply it by -1, it becomes the negative version of that number. So if you have positive 10 multiplied by -1, it becomes -10. If you have a negative number multiplied by -1, it becomes the positive version. So if I have a -10 multiplied by -1, it becomes positive 10, right? And so if we multiply our direction by -1, it just reverses its direction. So let's do that. So I'm going to go to my operators. I'm going to grab my multiplication operator, and I'm going to say -1. So point in -1 times direction. So now whenever we play the game, we should see the ball bouncing off of the paddles. All right. And it does. Look at that. It bounces perfectly off the paddle, changes direction. Ooh, we got a little bit of a glitch there. Uh-oh. That was kind of fun. Oh, that's interesting. We might be able to fix that, or maybe not. It's kind of cool. And it doesn't happen every time, so it adds some like randomness into the game. Anyway, cool. So now our Pong game is basically working. Let's check the time here. We're at 12 minutes. Well, let's see. I could implement a scoring system, but oh yeah, why not? Let's do it really quickly. So let's grab a sprite and let's go grab our line. We're going to rotate it to 180 degrees. And let's move it over so we have a goal here. Let's go into costumes. Let's duplicate. And let's change to a blue. Right, okay. There we go. That's nice. That's a nice blue. All right, we'll change it to a blue. And let's duplicate. All right. So we'll have blue on one side and we'll have red on the other. Now what we can do is we can go back to our ball. And instead of a forever block here, we can say repeat until. All right. So let's say repeat until. And we can say repeat until you're either touching red or you're touching blue. So we need an or for that. Okay. Repeat until touching. And this color here, we can click on it and we can click on the little eyedropper here and we can find a red pixel and click. Or repeat until touching. Oh, where are we going? Nope. Right there. Blue. Okay. Oh, hello. Got to grab in the middle. There we go. So repeat until touching red or blue. We'll move our movement into there along with our bouncy bounce. Now what we can do is we can say, if you're touching red, then we increase the score by 1. We can play a sound effect. If they're touching blue, you increase blue score by 1. We play a sound effect. We can even create it so that there's a loop in the game, meaning we have a broadcast system where we can broadcast game start at the beginning of the game, and then whenever we score a point, we can rebroadcast game start. But right now, what we have is essentially, there's that edge case I was talking about, where the ball comes in at such an extreme angle that it's almost impossible for us to have a fun game to play here. Because now it's... All right, let's try this again. All right, there we go. So now it hits blue and it stops. So in order to go again, we would have to hit the green flag, and now we have a game we can play until it hits the edge. So that is effectively a 2-player Pong game. You would have to just keep your score from one player to the other. If you have some time, you can look at my example, and you can take some ideas from my example and add some stuff to it, like maybe add a scoring engine, add sound effects, increase the speed of the ball every time you play the game, which is something I have in mind. Have a score limit. So if one side reaches 3 points, then the game is over. There's all kinds of things you can do with something like this. But right here, with the paddles moving, the ball moving, we have our goals on either side and it stops the game. This is a functional 2-player Pong game. All right, cool. Get to work. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.